Welcome back, everyone, to the smartest year ever, our quest to become the world's greatest conversationalists. My name is Gordy, and I was just wondering, did you know Teddy Roosevelt got shot in the chest, but thanks to this very document right there, he not only survived, but gave an entire speech immediately afterwards? Give me 5 minutes. I bet you can work this into a conversation today, and like and subscribe so you can keep up. I do this every single day. Exactly 113 years before this episode was published, October 14th, 1912, Teddy Roosevelt was on the campaign trail in Milwaukee running for a third term as president under the Progressive Party, the so-called Bull Moose ticket. Well, technically, it would have been his second elected term. He first became president in 1901 when William McKinley was assassinated and Roosevelt was his VP. He then won in the 1904 election outright. He stepped aside in 1908 and he came back in 1912 to challenge Taft and Woodrow Wilson. That night in Milwaukee, a man named John Fleming Schrank was waiting outside Roosevelt's hotel. Schrank had spent years wandering, drinking, and scribbling in notebooks about political conspiracies. Earlier in the day, he was reportedly pleasant and friendly, however. He was buying drinks for a band at a local saloon. He kept requesting for the band to play the Star-Spangled Banner, and then he would just dance to it alone. But when Roosevelt stepped out of his hotel, Schrank raised a revolver and fired into his chest point blank. Roosevelt staggered, but he didn't fall down. The bullet had passed through his glasses case and a thick folded manuscript of the 50-page speech he was about to deliver. That slowed it just enough to keep it from killing him outright. It lodged in his chest, dangerously close to his rib, where it would remain for the rest of his life. His aide, Harry Cochams, rushed to him and asked if he'd been hit. And Roosevelt, as calm as ever, he replied simply, "He pinked me, Harry." That's a good one. Meanwhile, Schrank was quickly grabbed and held upright by the crowd. The scene nearly turned into a lynching. Men closest to him began pummeling him. Others shouted, "Kill him! Hang him!" And Roosevelt, seeing the chaos, shouted to the mob, "Don't hurt him! Bring him here! I want to see him!" The crowd, stunned that Roosevelt was even standing, looked at him. Someone asked, "Is he okay?" And Roosevelt smiled faintly and waved his hat. He said, I'm all right. And that reassurance triggered cheers and gave police just enough room to reach Schrank and haul him forward. Roosevelt ordered him, "Bring him to me." And as Schrank was dragged closer, Roosevelt placed his hand on the man's head, staring into his eyes, as if to see whether he recognized him or not. "What did you do it for?" he asked. And Schrank said nothing. Roosevelt sighed. "Oh, what's the use? Turn him over to police." And then looking at him once more, Roosevelt said quietly, "You poor creature." And finally, he instructed the officers, "See that there is no violence done to him." Schrank was led away to the police as the crowd booed him and cheered Roosevelt. And doctors rushed forward. Roosevelt waved them off. He was an experienced hunter and anatomist. So he reckoned that because he wasn't coughing up blood, that, hey, my lungs weren't hit. So, I'm good to go. So Roosevelt tipped his hat again. He climbed into his car, and instead of heading to the hospital, he made for the auditorium. When he arrived, bleeding through his shirt, he looked at the crowd and announced, "Friends, I shall ask you to be as quiet as possible. I don't know whether you fully understand that I have just been shot." He then famously added, "It takes more than that to kill a bull moose." And Roosevelt then told the crowd, "The bullet went here, I will show you." And he opened up his vest and he showed this bloody stain which had spread from his right chest to his waist. But then he talked for 50 minutes. Some say almost an hour. There's some reports that say 90 minutes, but most likely just under an hour. Roosevelt stood there with a bullet in his chest and delivered his campaign address. By the end, aides had to convince him firmly that it was time to see a doctor. All right, you did it. You said what you got to say. Let's go to a doctor now. Come on. The next day, the Milwaukee Sentinel newspaper bore the headline, "Insane Man Shoots Roosevelt." And John Schrank, the would-be assassin, insisted after his arrest that he was not insane. He claimed he was motivated by a dream in which the ghost of President McKinley told him to avenge his own assassination by killing Roosevelt. See, I'm not insane. So yeah, he pretty much said everything you'd expect an insane person to say. And Schrank was declared not guilty by reason of insanity and committed to an asylum where he lived out the rest of his days. It doesn't look particularly menacing in this post-arrest picture. And I also feel like dancing to the Star-Spangled Banner is all the insanity evidence you really need, It's just not a dance song. It's not a song you dance to. Roosevelt survived the bullet, but never had it removed. Doctors said it's actually safer just to leave it in place than risk operating. And it didn't slow him down much. He went on to explore the Amazon's River of Doubt, write books, and keep building his legend. I did read a book that talks about his Amazon expedition, and they did note in the book that getting shot likely did zonk his stamina a little bit, but Teddy would never admit it. So there you have it. A bullet in the chest turned into nearly an hour-long speech. Roosevelt ended up losing the election to Woodrow Wilson, but he cemented his legacy and mythos as an American legend. I mean, look, I'm not doing an episode right now on Woodrow Wilson, am I? So yeah, the shooting didn't win him the presidency, but it won him immortality, the bull moose who could take a bullet and keep talking. Go check out my sources, which can be found in the YouTube description. Leave a comment, rate, like, subscribe, share this with someone who likes this sort of thing. Any history buffs, anyone that you think would like this, share that with them. I'd really appreciate it. Go check out the short version I do of all of these. You can find those on social media, at Smartest Year Ever. Wherever you're on social media, you can find that condensed version. And in the meantime, stay curious and stay clever on our quest to become the world's greatest conversationalist. I will see you tomorrow, and I look forward to it in the smartest year ever.